Now we're going to shift into specifically the role of rest. So where do we go with that, Deacon Matt?
Well, we already kind of alluded to some of these things, so this should be a fairly quick topic for us to move through. But we talked about rest in terms of going on retreat. We talked about the retreat could be somewhere out there, right? Out in the great wide open, or it could be in a church. It could be an adoration. It could be in your home. It could be this Friday when you join us for the mini retreat, Christmas mini retreat at Catechist Stream.
The mini retreat?
The mini retreat. I don't even know what the etiquette is. Do you just do, is it like for every syllable, mini retreat, or do you do per word? You know, I have no idea.
It depends on how much you want to emphasize.
Oh my God. They're like, oh, I got to go ice these down. So at any rate, we talked about retreating. We talked about silence. We didn't say too much about prayer. So why don't we close this topic with that? We'll look at prayer, and prayer allows us to rest our souls a little bit. When we pray, we usually pray with some kind of purpose, right? But has your purpose ever been to rest? Like literally to pray, look, Lord, I'm praying, I need to rest. Please grant me a moment here of peace with you. Whatever, however you want to articulate that. I find it very interesting. I don't think personally I ever pray, not ever, but hardly ever pray for that. Although I will say just the other day at 3 a.m. when I wake up and then my mind starts going like crazy and I can't shut it off, I'll say, Lord, please help me get back to sleep. Now that notwithstanding, a lot of times I don't ask God for help to rest, to let me rest in you. And part of that is, and this was a deep spiritual discovery for myself, was I struggle, and I'm sure I'm not alone. I struggle sometimes to trust God, to trust that God's got me, to trust that he can bring me to a place of peace and rest in spite of whatever the chaos is that's going on. So there is a struggle there with trust. And it's a struggle that's rooted in one of the problems we listed, one of the losses that could actually become a blessing, that loss of control, right? Control is not the antidote for trust. Control and trust are like oil and water. What we need is surrender when it comes to trust. And I struggle with that sometimes. And that's probably why in my prayer life, I don't ask or invite God to lead me into that rest, to lead me into that place of peace, because I don't know if he can, or probably more appropriately, I don't know if I can allow him to. So this is something that I wrestle with, particularly in this time of the year, in Advent and in this time of fall and winter, letting go again, surrendering to really allow myself to fall into that rest when I pray with God.
Yeah, that's a beautiful image. And I think what you're saying is it's practical, but it's powerful. You know, it's something that's doable. We can all do that. Mm-hmm. And we should expect God to really be and come present to us if we're able to surrender ourselves in that way. Joyce is speaking on through the comment box. I'm sorry?
I said, hey, Joyce. What did Joyce say?
Yeah, so Joyce is talking about loss. She said that a loss of marriage through divorce, after 10 years still gets lonely, but God has been with me through this. And also another example that Joyce shared was the loss of her dad 15 years ago. And so she still misses him, especially this time of year. He always loved Christmas.
I have a quick question. And by the way, we lost Steve, at least his camera, because he looks frozen.
I've shifted into the winter.
Yeah, you did. You are practicing surrender right now in a radical way.
Maybe I should turn that off.
You got to rejoice. You got to rejoice when God gives us these moments. I would love to ask Joyce if she can quickly comment. She talked about losing her father 15 years ago. Have you experienced a new relationship with your father through your faith in the last 15 years? In other words, has that relationship continued, but in a different way, in a different mode for you? And that can just be a yes or no. If you want to share a little more, feel free to, but I'm just curious. So I'd love to hear from you, Joyce. But that kind of wraps up our last topic here.